What is up, guys? It's your boy Rick Kakis, and today we are going to be showcasing 10 legendary weapons that I think are going to be absolutely cracked next season with Season 18 for Destiny 2. And that's because Arc 3.0 is arriving next season, and if it's anything like Solar 3.0 this season or Void 3.0 last season, there's going to be a huge demand for Arc weaponry to slot into Arc builds and use the incredibly powerful seasonal artifact mods. So, all of the weapons we're showcasing today are randomly rolled. I already did a video on the 5 Arc weapons you want to be crafting, and frankly, all 5 of those would be in this video, so definitely go check that out if you haven't. But let's start out here with number 10, and these are in no particular order, guys. We have the 7th SERAPH VY-7. Now, you probably were expecting a different 7th SERAPH SMG, and that might still be coming later in the list, but this is kind of the younger brother that's getting a huge glow up next season. So, its arc, it's a precision frame 600 RPM, and its kind of god roll was considered to be Ambitious Assassin plus Dragonfly. Now, here's the thing. This can produce Warmind cells, which is a huge plus. Like, compared to a weapon that can't produce Warmind cells, if you can just throw on a global reach, I mean, as you can see from the background gameplay, they still crack. Like, they're not as good as they were, but yeah, it's pretty awesome to have the option to use them. But also, not only is this getting a bit better because it's arc and the demand is going up, but its god roll is getting a bit better. And that's because, as you can see right here, guys, Ambitious Assassin is getting a big buff. So next season, you're going to be able to overflow this thing's magazine to 150% of normal, which is going to be pretty easy to do when you're chaining kills with Dragonfly. So yeah, definitely dust this thing off. But moving on from there, guys, coming in at number 9, we have the ARSENIC Bite 4B. This is arguably the best legendary bow in the game, especially when you're talking about PvE. So this can get the nutty roll of Rampage, increasing the damage after every kill, combined with Explosive Head, which is going to offer a little bit of a just generic damage increase. Every sort of explosive perk does that, and also this is god tier if you're stunning champions, if there's bow overload rounds, for example. And the fact that this can get both of those perks, like usually you find these perks on the right hand column, this can get both. It's just insane. So this is already a highly used weapon. Again, whenever there's bow overload rounds, the ARSENIC Bite is one of the go-tos in the game. The fact that its arc is just going to be a godsend next season, and I really do expect this to see a lot of play, especially in higher level content. Stuff like, you know, Grandmasters, or even the new raid where you're gonna have to keep some distance between you and the enemies. But moving on from there, guys, coming in at number 8, we have the Cantata 57. This arc hand cannon was added in the Witch Queen, and importantly, it can get timed payload. Now, if you're a longtime subscriber of the channel, you know I have an obsession with timed and explosive payload on hand cannons. Frankly, I can't use a hand cannon in PvE if it doesn't have those perks because it is so darn good. It's going to give you a 10 to 15% damage bonus all the time, depending on whether you hit the head or the body. So it's basically like Frenzy. Always. You don't have to do anything, it's just always active, and what happens is the damage gets split into explosive damage and normal damage, and that explosive damage has an infinite range. So with a hand cannon, you can shoot red bar enemies and kill red bar enemies in just a couple of shots when they're literally pixels on your screen. It makes using hand cannons in higher level content just a breeze. So I think this is going to be so good. Time payload arc hand cannon, just definitely make note of this one. But moving on from there, guys, at number 7, we have the SALVAGE'S Salvo Grenade Launcher. Now, this is an old school pinnacle weapon, so I think a lot of you guys do have access to this thing, But holy crap, this is, arguably the best pinnacle weapon we've gotten over the last couple of years here, because this can get, well, it comes with spike grenades for bonus damage, fantastic, and it comes with Ambitious Assassin, Demolitionist, Chain Reaction, which is amazing, or Vorpal Weapon. And I mean, we talked about Ambitious Assassin for the SMG. There's no reason it shouldn't also overflow to 150% on a special weapon. So you get a big multi-kill with the SALVAGE'R's Salvo, and especially if that's aided by Chain Reaction, potentially you're gonna get 3 rounds in your Salvo. That is nutty. But again, guys, this is already good, it already sees play, and it's just going to shoot up in the meta because of the demand for arc weapons next season. However, moving on from there, guys, at number 6, we have our first heavy weapon, and boy, it's a heavy hitter, the HOTHEAD. Now I have the ADEPT version here, rocket launcher, so this can get, well, the other god roll is going to be impact casing for more damage, and then it can get a smorgasbord of amazing perks. So I have Field Prep for more reserve ammo and better reload if you're crouching, or auto-loading holster. Either is fantastic. You can also get tracking in this first slot as well. And then I have it with Clown Cartridge, which is top tier, but it can also get Explosive Light, which is top tier, or even Vorpal Weapon. And the newer ones are dropping with either Stunning Recovery, which probably isn't going to matter too much, but Vanguard's Vindication is going to be amazing. Every time you get a kill, it gives you a small chunk of health, about 7 health, but it's a rocket launcher. Like, how are you not gonna get a multi-kill with this thing? And if you're killing like 5 enemies, that's a really good chunk of health you're gonna get back. And if you do have the Adept version, of course, Adept Big One spec is exactly what you want on a heavy weapon like this. This is arguably the best legendary rocket launcher in the entire game. The demand for this thing is already high right now. It's going to be insane next season. But moving on from there, at number 5, we have the big brother of the first weapon we talked about, the Aikilos_SMG_V1.0.2. So, the fact that this is an arc aggressive frame SMG is already nuts. The fact that it can also make Warmind cells is the icing on top, and it has some pretty solid rolls. So it can get Threat Detector, where within SMG ranges is almost always active. It can also get Subsistence, which has gone up in value quite a bit now that it doesn't hurt your reserve ammo, and then it can get either Surrounded and or Demolitionist in the final column, both of which are going to be amazing. Like, this thing has seen play for years, it still sees play, it's still one of the best weapons in the game, and like, if Bungie ever buffs Warmind cells just a little bit, because I think they were nerfed a little too hard and don't see play in the meta, if any Warmind cell mod ever becomes meta, this is like the go-to #1 weapon to spawn Warmind cells. So again, always you got to pay attention to this weapon. However, it's time to move on from there, guys, to the number 4 spot, and that's going to be the Forgiveness Sidearm. Yeah, this is a brand new one that came out this season. I was going to make a dedicated video on this role, but I got pretty distracted when my wife had a baby about a week ago. In any event, here it is in all its glory. It can get Demolitionist plus Adrenaline Junkie. If there's any OG Destiny players watching, do you guys remember the Breachlight from Season of Dawn and how cracked that thing was? It was an aggressive burst, which the Forgiveness is, and it could get Demolitionist in the left-hand column and then either Rampage or Multi-Kill Clip in the right-hand column. So Demolitionist giving you arguably your best ability back way more often and instantly reloading the magazine when you use that ability. And oh, by the way, arc grenades are probably going to be in huge demand with arc builds next season, generating wells, doing all this crazy stuff. But then you also get a damage increase via Adrenaline Junkie on top of that. So this is kind of the reincarnation of the Breachlight, but this time it's arc. And honestly, Demolitionist plus Adrenaline Junkie might even be better than like Demo plus Rampage or Demo plus a multi-kill clip, just because they synergize so well together. Like you want your abilities back, you also want your weapons to do more damage. This is going to give you both at the same time, just an incredibly good weapon. And honestly, if you do have this role for the Forgiveness, I really do think this is probably going to be like one of the most used weapons next season for enabling arc builds. Like, you just want this type of thing when you're talking about all the synergies that are going to be involved with this subclass remake. Like, if we look at how important grenades are in Void 3.0 and even in Solar 3.0, causing burns and all of that stuff, you really want your abilities. So stuff like this really does matter. But guys, it's time to move on to number 3, and that is the Stochastic Variable Submachine Gun. So we've looked at some other SMGs, but this is the only one that's an ARC 900 RPM, and the 900 RPM SMGs are frankly the best ones. I mean, if you look at the Funnel Web for Void, the Callus Mini Tool for Solar, this is the ARC version of that. However, if you have Phase Magazine, as you can see, you can actually change it to a 600 RPM, completely change the archetype if you want, but frankly, I think it's best at 900. This can get the nutty roll of Feeding Frenzy and Multi-Kill Clip, like such a wombo combo of perks, massively improving your reload speed, and frankly one of the best damage increases in the game if you can get it active with Multi-Kill Clip. Now, it should be noted, instead of Feeding Frenzy, this thing can also get Ambitious Assassin. So depending on how nuts the Ambitious Assassin buff is, it might even be better to run that, plus maybe Multi-Kill Clip or something else, over this Wombo. But I mean, if you do have the Wombo, it's going to be fantastic regardless. But yeah, like, again, we've seen what happens to the 900 RPM SMGs when their element gets the 3.0 treatment. Yeah, it's probably going to happen with this weapon as well. But next on our list at number 2, we have the First In, Last Out Shotgun. This, for a time, was one of the most wanted, most in demand, and best weapons in the entire game when slug shotguns were meta. They've since been nerfed, but they're still pretty darn good, and the rolls this thing can get are kind of insane. So, auto-loading holster is absolutely what you want, and you're combining that with Vorpal weapon, and you are absolutely chunking enemies with this thing. Like, Vorpal still does 15% bonus damage on specials, so being able to whip this thing out and shoot a fast 6 rounds if you have Assault Mag, or potentially 7 rounds if you have an extended mag, then put it away, switch to your heavy or whatever to continue that damage, whip it back out, it's completely reloaded. It is still an incredibly powerful gameplay loop, and that's only going to be increased even more so when you consider a lot of ARC 3.0 builds are probably going to be leaning on Elemental Well mods in PvE, and that means you're probably going to be using the Font of Might mod to give you 25% bonus arc weapon damage when you pick up an Arc Elemental Well. And 25% on top of this is gonna be insane. But guys, moving on from there, our number 1 spot, and I know I said they're in no particular order, but number 1 is probably gonna be number 1 here, the Storm Chaser Linear Fusion Rifle. Added this season, this is the hardest hitting linear fusion rifle in the game. It's not even close, and frankly, this is arguably the best heavy legendary weapon in the entire game right now. The fact that it's arc, again, is really going to matter next season. It can get the insane rolls of, rapid hit or autoloading holster combined with especially firing line for a huge increase in DPS, or even a Vorpal weapon as well. This thing is already used in endgame activities, raids, Grandmasters, everywhere, dungeons. Like, this thing is unbelievably good, and again, its stock is really only going to go up next season. And so guys, that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.